You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It is a 1/17/22, a holiday. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Well, if you're a real estate investor, you're doing flips, you're doing deals, you're doing several of them a month, you are definitely going to want to hear from my next guest. And if you're aspiring to be a real estate investor, then you're definitely going to want to hear from him. Name is Robert Syfert. And the website is realestateinvestor.com. Great URL. Robert, great to have you on the show. So why does anybody need you? I thought there's a million courses out there. There's a million books. Everybody is out there chasing real estate now. Is there room for yet another person here?
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for having me on the show, Kerry. Secondly, that is exactly why they need realestateinvestor.com, because there are a million courses, ideas, rabbit holes, shiny objects that you can go down, and you just don't know which ones are actually going to get you the results you're after or not. Which ones are just a product that someone is selling because they've created a book or a course and actually have never done real estate, and which ones backed and supported by people that actually have bought and sold homes. And more importantly, bought and sold homes post-COVID and in today's current market. So at realestateinvestor.com, you have the culmination of a couple guys who started a software and services platform to grow and scale their own businesses pre and post-COVID in the real estate investing arena, and still actively invest, along with the thousands of members who have been through us, the millions of postcards that we sent, all the testing that we've actually done live, and something that works. So at the end of the day, if you're after results, you want us. If you're after just another course to study, look at, and learn about, well, there's tons of that available all over the place.
All right. So tell us, what do you do for real estate investors that they're interested in, that's going to make their lives better and make their businesses, make your business more profitable?
Well, that's exactly what we do for real estate investors. We simplify that curve and shorten it so that you can get to having the lifestyle that you've dreamed of, having more time and making more profits from real estate, rather than trying to learn the hard way as to what will work, what won't, and doing this little roller coaster ride, as we like to call it. So you've closed the deal and you did really well, and then you plummeted and made nothing. And you're working 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week, trying to get your next deal done, and then you have no deals and you can't understand why. Mm-hmm. And there is a very simple process, efficient steps, systems, and organization in order to pull it off and make it scalable and achievable. And that's really it. We just help people meet them where they are and what they're currently going through, and then simplify those gaps that they're missing, which a lot of times are just little tiny things that plug in those holes that stop this and turn it more into this.
That reminds me of that old saying, a small leak can sink a big ship.
Yes, it can.
And for sure. So give us an example of somebody who came to you who was in the situation that you're describing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's tons of testimonials on our sites of different examples. One that comes to mind is a guy who started with actually nothing and was just trying to figure it out. And he was trying to figure out how to stop working all the time. He was doing deals. He was active, right?
Yeah.
But we get in this conundrum of no one can do it better than me, or I don't know how to hire people, so I don't know who to hire, right? I don't know what's the right thing. And that usually is us in our own way. It's a mindset issue. And so how we help people like that is, if they want, we have the coaching available where we can help them with CEO coaches that help get them out of their own way mentally. And then a lot of the services that they're going to be hiring for, we've already got those done. So they literally could have somebody up and running within a week that is already interviewed, hired, managed, and trained and doing the job that they need so they can focus on revenue generating activities and making more money.
So do you need a lot of money to start this? I assume you have a roadmap or a blueprint. So if you're looking to do this, you can get started and avoid the pitfalls.
Yeah, absolutely. You can obviously go faster and higher scale with more money. You can still get to where you need regardless of your situation. So I'll say it that way. I'm actually currently shooting a whole new YouTube series and starting a real estate venture on the side from nothing with zero marketing dollars, just to prove that you actually don't need a big budget and a ton of money to be successful in real estate. You just need time. And you need to know what, which is the part, right? The map. You need to know what to do. Step 1 through 3, follow these and you will do deals. And then from there, obviously, and of course, depending on how large you want to scale your operation, how big you want it to be, how much money you want to generate, that will take different levels of marketing dollars to achieve that. But nonetheless, you can start it with nothing and make the money and then allow the business to pay for itself and its growth going forward.
All right. So how does one get started here?
Yeah. So if you go to realestateinvestor.com, you can fill out a simple form, and that's going to put you in contact with someone on our team. There's a series of questions that you're answering just so we can identify where you're currently at in business. So we're having a fruitful conversation. We're not wasting your time or ours. Again, it doesn't matter where you are, but it will determine where you should start based on that, because everyone's map is going to be different, right? What is going to work for someone who is doing no deals and needs to get their first deal done is going to be completely different than a guy who already is doing 5 deals a month consistently and looking to get to 10. Radically different maps. Nonetheless, still real estate, still foundational core things that need to happen. So going through that process there gets you in contact with our team and sets us up to know where you're at so we can have the right conversation with you and present the map that's going to be necessary.
So what are the biggest mistakes that you find that your clients are making that necessitate them for calling you in?
Yeah, so first and foremost, there's a foundational one that most make, and this is going to be applicable to every level, and that is the lack of action. They tend to overanalyze, look at multiple things, and do nothing with anything that they're learning. That is the biggest one that I see.
Paralysis by analysis, right?
100%. So that first and foremost at every level is always going to be there, and you have to find the ways to get out of your own way at each level so you can go to the next one. From that, the next biggest thing that we see real estate investors making as a mistake is 2 things, and both of them come down to focus too. Focus is a big one. That's an underlying one. But once you're focused, it's tracking. We just find people don't track. So even if they are making some level of success, they get into this roller coaster because they have no idea what is actually working and what's not working. And a simple fix of just appropriate tracking can help you get out of your own way so you can see what is working, so you can do more of that, and what's not working, and you can cut that out. And then the next biggest mistake that they make is either not hiring soon enough, trying to do it all themselves so they don't leverage their time, and then kitty cornered with that, and it could be a problem that is in and of itself there, right, is the lack of consistency. So consistency in marketing. Everyone is wondering, why do I have this roller coaster? Why am I closing a deal and then I'm closing nothing? Or I'm closing several deals and I'm closing nothing. Well, at that root of that, you're consistently not marketing. You're consistently not doing the daily habits. Now, that could be because you need to hire and you don't have the time to be able to do all the things necessary in a week to continue to grow. Or it could just be that you have no consistency to begin with in yourself.
Time management, right?
Yes.
Time management's a big deal. So, so once you get people on track, what kind of results can you expect?
You can results are dependent on the person, and really, it's just the beauty of real estate is there is no limit to where you can go. So you can make multiple 7 figures in a year. You can run a multiple 8-figure business. It's really up to you on what level you want. So it just depends, right? It depends on where you want to go. We find a lot of people that set the goal of, I want to do $1 million a year. But once they start the roadmap of going down that path, they actually find that that's not really the goal they have, right? They actually wanted more time, and they don't need $1 million a year to have more time. So it just depends, right? The success level is dependent on where you actually want to go. And I would challenge that most people, if you haven't broken 7 figures yet, I find a lot of people haven't even broken $500,000 yet in real estate, even if they're very busy. Tends to be the real goal is somewhere in that 250 to 500,000 take home. And then, of course, there are people that do want to make 7 figures, 8 figures and beyond. But that level is really dependent on you. Is it really your goal? Own that goal. Why do you want that goal? And then do the work that's required to get there.
I gotcha. And so do you think, do you need a certain intelligence level to do this? Or do you think anybody can do it if they're just motivated?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Osino Resources is a Ross Beatty-backed gold exploration company in mining-friendly Namibia. Osino's district-scale land package is situated near 2 producing gold mines, one of which Osino's management team previously developed and sold to B2 Gold. Osino's founders and management are experienced mining professionals who have already successfully developed and sold 2 companies in the past 7 years. Osino has a tight share structure, and with its current treasury, it can self-fund the advancement of its gold discovery into at least 2022. This is an exploration company with drills turning that you'll definitely want to pay attention to. Osino trades in New York under the ticker OSIIF and in Toronto under the ticker OSI. To learn more, go to osinoresources.com. That's osinoresources.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network. The information you need to thrive now more than ever.
Yeah, I think the funny, I'm going to say it this way. The funny part is that as soon as you asked that question, it reminded me of my very first mentor in real estate who used to say, I could teach a 5th grader to do real estate because real estate really is that basic and simple. Most people, actually, if you're too smart, just get in your own way and overanalyze, it couldn't possibly work. Yet there's people making 8 figures doing basic, simple things that a 5th grader could be taught to do. The biggest challenge that anyone has is not the lack of intelligence. It's the lack of the 6 inches between your ears that are holding you back from taking the actions that seem so simple, because it's those simple actions that will give you the result you want. Yet we'll talk ourselves out of it.
I have to share with you a story about this because it's so true. I consulted to a guy who had a foreclosure course in Florida, and he was having a boot camp, and this one lady showed up. She was in her 60s. Her husband had always been the earner. She was a pretty much stay-at-home housewife, and he passed away, and he just didn't leave her quite enough money. So we go online on the Lee County tax deed foreclosure sale, and she's listening to this guy, and she buys 3 properties. All right, does exactly what he says, doesn't think because doesn't know, buys 3 properties for a total of about $37,000. And he then shows her how to put them up on eBay for sale. And she literally follows, his directions to the letter, because I'm watching her do this. And within a month, she's turned that 37 and change into 75,000. All right. And then she does it again, and she buys 3 more properties. And this time she hits a bottleneck, and she can't find him. So somehow she tracks me down. I'm a recovering attorney. She says, I'm trying to just do quitclaim deeds, but they won't take quitclaims. What do I do? So I said, well, you do a special warranty deed. Just make sure there's no municipal liens on the property, and that's easy enough to do. So she does that. I haven't heard from her in years, but I did hear she sold those properties for around $120,000, and obviously went back. Now, this is a woman who had 0 knowledge of real estate, 0 knowledge of eBay, any of this stuff. And, she was cleaning clock. And I'm the analysis paralysis guy. I know too much. I think too hard, and I don't do it. So it's so funny what you're saying there, because this lady, we'll call her Ginny, had 0 experience. So she was much more teachable than me with, law school and dozens of transactions under my belt. I couldn't do this, but she could do it.
Yeah, I'm
Really
similar.
funny.
I mean, I spent in my personal story, I spent over a decade wanting to do real estate, studying real estate, going to workshops, reading every single book and consuming every angle and conceivable thing. I had so much knowledge in depth behind dry funding and wet funding and legal terminology within contracts, yet I hadn't done any deals. And it wasn't until this clicked to say, oh, I just have to do stuff. And then I started doing stuff, and I've never looked back. And I learned more with the actions I took than any. And I'm not saying don't study, don't learn. Of course, I recommend those things and I do those things. I just don't let it get in the way anymore. Now I'd rather learn from action and apply something as soon as I read it, rather than continuing to read more.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, there was a movie out with Steve Martin, and it was entitled "The Man Who Knew Too Little," as a takeoff on The Man Who Knew Too Much. And he's like getting all these amazing results, not knowing what the hell he's doing. Mm-hmm. So I know exactly what you're saying. So if you're like starting out, beginner real estate investor, what's your advice? Where does that person start out? Even though I know that's not necessarily your client.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. It's the thing I'm actually shooting a video on, shooting several videos on, because it's just so simple, right? We tend to overlook, and there's so much information of, well, what's the right list I got to get? And where do I skip trace these people so that I can call them? And should I call them or should I text them? Or should I be doing pay-per-click and online ads? Or maybe I should just be doing direct mail, and yet they do nothing. So the simple answer is forget all that. Go online. Go to For Rent Properties, Google it in your area, For Rent, go on Zillow, Realtor.com, wherever in your local market, and call all the properties that are for rent and ask them if they would like to sell their house or if they have any others they would like to sell. And if they say no, you then can ask them, oh, would you like to buy another one? In that simple conversation, here's three things that just occurred. Number one, it's a great list. Why? You know that the properties listed for rent are owned by potentially a landlord, so they don't live in it. They just own it for rental. They own it. You have the best contact number because they're interested in renting.
They want to rent it.
Don't have to skip trace to get the number. Don't have to find out the contact. And you will have a fruitful conversation every time someone picks up that phone, even if it's a property manager, an agent on behalf of them, because those people are connected with other landlords and other owners of properties. And this is what I know about landlords to be true. All landlords are in one of three positions. They are either looking to get rid of some of their assets because they hate being a landlord, they don't like the property or the issues, or they're tired of dealing with tenants. If they're not looking to get rid of anything, then they're probably actively looking to acquire more rental properties to add to their portfolio, which now you have a buyer that's looking for something from you. Or three, they're just in a holding pattern. And nonetheless, you now have a relationship with someone who is in real estate, who at some point is going to want to sell what they have, buy more of what they have, or invest with someone else that is active in real estate. So that those simple conversations that you could have right now without any list buying, any skip tracing, any additional studying or learning are going to build you the relationships that you need in this business to be able to do anything moving forward in a good and positive way. So that's what I would recommend as the best way to start. And it's actually what I'm doing my whole series on, is I'm literally starting with nothing and calling for rent properties. And so far, we've only been a couple of weeks into it, and we already have some deals under contract, some buyers that are actively looking for some big stuff, and having very fruitful conversations just from a simple phone call from a free list.
So when that's a brilliant idea. I love it. So when you're dealing with these people who are potential sellers, how much do you have to buy it for cash? Can you finance it, or will they do owner financing? In this day and age, it seems like if you're in any kind of desirable area, the owner doesn't necessarily want to finance, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the answer to that question really is going to be dependent on case by case, because the true answer is all of the above. You could buy it for cash and get a certain price on it. You could buy it with financing, because it could be a house that's already done and rentable. You could use hard money. And some of those sellers may be open to financing the property back to you. Now, part of that is going to, of course, be your own knowledge and skill set. And this is where, learning as you go helps you open more doors and what's capable for you to buy. All of those are different strategies. Obviously, your own personal skill set is going to help determine some of that. But I mean, some of the learning I had early on in that is just asking. You can ask the seller questions, right? And that conversation can just turn into, I think there's a potential here. And then when you have the potential, then you could go study a YouTube video specific on how do I negotiate this, or contact someone that knows, get a hold of an attorney that's reputable in your area that could help you document the right things that are necessary. Here's what I do know. As soon as you have something as a result of the action you took, the door will open to tell you what it is you don't know. And now you can go look for that next something that you need to learn instead of wasting your time learning a bunch of stuff that you don't know if you're going to use or not.
Yeah. Well, a lot of properties for rent, though, they're using realtors, aren't they?
A lot, yeah, or property managers.
So you avoid them, or?
I don't. I like the conversation because, again, understand that this agent or property manager has a trusted relationship with the owner of the property. And most likely, I actually prefer those conversations because they're usually professional and they usually have more than one of those. So even if the one you contacted them about isn't ready to sell, they probably have a customer or a client that is fed up with being a landlord and does want to get rid of properties, or they have other properties that are garbage, trash. I'll take whatever. I want the worst thing that you don't want to deal with, that customer, bring them to me. And understand I'm having so many conversations in a day taking this route that I've also met people who are interested in buying. And this creates the umbrella for me to just be the middleman in the coin phrase of wholesaling, right? I now have someone who wants to sell a property for X, and I have someone who wants to buy more at Y, and I can make money in the middle.
Amazing. Well, really interesting there. And it sounds like a good strategy. And appreciate you coming on, Robert, to just tell us how we connect with you on the web, how we find out more about what you're doing, and maybe become a client.
Yeah. First and foremost, you can obviously go to realestateinvestor.com and check out anything that we're doing there. And if you want to connect with me personally, you can go to iamrob360.com. And that gives you access to all of my social, everything that I'm doing, any YouTube or anything that I put out in the future. So it's a very simple way to say, if you like Facebook, reach me out there. If you like Instagram, go there. I'm everywhere, and it's the easiest way to know what I got going on.
Excellent. Hey, well, we really appreciate you coming on, Rob. It's been really enlightening, and I like your strategy. It's so simple, yet so easy to do. And then you have no excuses. I can't get the right list. And man, none of these are people here or buyers or sellers, whatever. And really, it makes a lot of sense. Got a question for Rob? Just shoot us an email to kl@kerrylutz.com. We'll get you an answer quick. And any questions, just feel free to connect with Rob. There's a link to his site in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com, and sign up for your free newsletter. Rob, been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. It's been a pleasure as well.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.